welcome to yet another 𝗨ecie𝗄𝘁 talk. Today we have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Anne Whitehouse. Dr. Anne Whitehouse is a leading expert in female power and confidence. She's a healer, and she's also the best-selling author of Bring Back Your Power. And guess what? She's also a former scientist. Actually, she lives in Leicester in the UK with her husband of 20 years and her son. So when she's not empowering women, she likes to spend her time singing Renaissance music, of all things, huh? And she also plays the flute, she draws cartoons, and she likes to crochet. Her mission, that she's going to tell us more about very soon when we start talking with her, is to just make it fair for women in their workplace so they can shine and have more opportunities without feeling all the stress. So welcome, Anne.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. So tell us, I'm really curious, how did you go from being a scientist? I think you were something like a metallurgical engineer.
That's exactly what I was.
To become a leader in empowering women. How did that happen?
Well, I never intended to have a career empowering women. So I was what you would call an academic high flyer, PhD, postdoctoral research, and then I got what we in the UK call a university lectureship. In the US, they'd call it a college professorship. So basically, I got that in a leading engineering department, and off I went, a young woman of, how old was I, 26, wow, into this very male-dominated environment. And I was competent, and I was pretty confident, and I was very highly qualified, and I had this mission even then to be a role model, to show the few women on the course, and it was about 5% only, if that they too could succeed in that man's world and still be feminine, still be women, and prove that we were just as good as the men. So off I went, but it wasn't as I'd expected, and this is where everything really, it was as if the rug had been pulled out from under me. As I was working there, what I found was that my confidence evaporated and my stress went off the scale. And the longer I was there, the worse it got. And here's the thing, I could do the job just fine. I was doing the research, I was doing the teaching, I had great reviews from my students, I was bringing in the research grants, all the stuff you're meant to do, I was doing it no problem. But my stress was like off the scale. And what happened was that in 6 years, I went from high-flying academic to burnout, chronic fatigue syndrome, and I lost the career that I'd worked so hard for.
So what happened there? What was the thing that made it click?
Exactly. So I was left with this big question: why had this happened? Why had I reacted that way in a job that I was so qualified and capable for? And that took me into looking at into the subconscious and why I had reacted that way. What was it about being in that place that had made me react like that? And my body had felt literally as if I was in danger. I even used to say to people, it feels as if I'm going to my execution just going into work. It just felt so awful. But it wasn't obvious. It wasn't obvious on the surface at all. As a woman, you get banter, you get some sexist comments, there's some of that. Of course there is. But was that enough to explain my response? No, it wasn't. It didn't add up. Mm-hmm. So that's what took me into analysing what's inside the subconscious. And I came to see it like an operating system, like a computer. Mm-hmm. And by this time I was, not only making myself better, I was already trained as a practitioner and a teacher, and I was working with lots of other women. And the interesting thing is I found the same pattern again and again and again in women from all kinds of different careers, lawyers, medics, politicians even, entrepreneurs, women in finance, every single field where women were pushing the boundaries and succeeding, they were also having this pattern of this really high stress and the low confidence and the burnout. And I thought, what was it? And basically this operating system, the subconscious operating system, I found we were all holding really old beliefs, really rooted in the old patriarchal world. And so everything was saying, you're not allowed to be here. You're not allowed to outshine the men. You're not allowed to have this authority. You're certainly not allowed to have male students and be, with a doctorate. You're going to be punished for this. The messages were, you're not allowed to be here. You're in genuine danger. You're breaking the rules. And it's kind of exacerbated because when you go into these workplaces, all of the ways of doing things, the benchmark, if you like, is all male default. And lots of people have talked about this in different ways in recent years. When I kind of discovered it, no one was talking about it. But it's, when women go into these places, all the messages we get, like subliminal messaging, is saying, it's the male way is what's allowed and is superior. And you're not allowed to be you. You're not allowed to be female. You're not allowed to have female power or operate in a woman's way. That is forbidden, or and so that gives you the message, subtle message, you're not allowed, you're not good enough. And so that
men feel threatened.
Yes. So here's the thing is, you don't know that's what's happening. I had no idea that my subconscious believed that, because consciously I was there to succeed and I knew I was good enough and I was going to prove myself and all the stuff, right? I had no idea that my subconscious was telling me a completely different message. So that all fell into place over 20 years of analysing and working with so many different women. And so that came into my book, the Pull Back Your Power, it takes me into what's actually happening to us when we get in those situations. And
let's rewind a bit. Sorry, I stop you.
Yes.
Because I'm still not clear. I understand how you went from being a scientist, a super empowered woman with overqualified possibly for what you were doing, being successful, and then you were feeling kind of challenged, miserable, stress. And what happened? Did you quit and you decided to do more research into that?
No, well, it was much more extreme, more extreme. So I call it a spectacular burnout.
Okay.
I was feeling ill every single day.
Oh.
I had insomnia it went on for, I couldn't sleep at all. Doctors would put me on tranquilizers, knock me out for a couple of days, and I would just get a bit better, go straight back to work. The warning signs were huge, but I ignored them because I just wanted to get back to work. And then it turned into anxiety, into panic attacks, and then it became chronic fatigue syndrome. And I got like a flu one day, and I just didn't get better, and it went on for months and months and months and months. So I had a year off work. I tried to go back part-time. It was never going to work because as soon as I went back in that environment, it all came back again. So I had to resign. My health was literally destroyed. So it got to the point where it was about a year where I was too weak to even stand up. I was literally on the sofa, unable to do anything. And that's when I had what I call, it was one of those defining moments. And the doctors had said, we can't do anything for you. It's chronic fatigue syndrome. You're going to have it forever. You're going to have to live with it. That's what they said. And goodbye.
Nice.
And by this time I was in my early 30s. And I remember lying on the sofa and I was too weak to lift my arm up and pick up a pen. That's how bad it was. And I thought, is this my life? Is my life over? And I'm so young. Is this it? And if I believed what I was told, it would have been. But in that moment, I decided that I simply wasn't prepared to accept that this was my life and that I was going to find the solution. I knew there would be one somewhere. And I said to myself, I don't care what it takes. I don't care what I have to do. I don't care how long it takes. I am not prepared for my life to be like this. I am going to find the solution. And it was like a switch in my mind. And doors began to open, and I just read everything. I tried everything, and I had been the 3D world scientist girl on my electron microscope, and that opened the door to all the alternative therapies and the healing modalities and the subtle energies, because I was desperate. And at that time, it wasn't about empowering women. It was about, I want my life back, right? I want my life back.
Yeah.
But when it all began to, I began to understand what had happened to me, the way the messages I was getting, literally I was forbidden from having that career. And my subconscious actually believed I'd be put to death for it. So I got into this chronic fight or flight, and the stress was so great that the body can only cope with so much. And it eventually said, no, you are not going into that place anymore. I'm going to make you stop. And it made me stop. And the thing is, when you see it, and I saw it in myself, it's one thing. One person is just one person. But by the time you've seen it in 30 women, and it's the same pattern, and they have the same subconscious programs, it becomes, well, this is really interesting, because this is a phenomenon, isn't it? Then we can find out what the root is, and when there's a root, we can change it to find the solution. So I put my scientific mind to work in this, in the subconscious world, and that's how I made my discoveries and worked out how we can change those things, because obviously the world is still the world. We can't, much as we'd like to just have a clean sweep and make it so that everything is lovely for women, we have to live in the world that we've got.
Yes.
But if we know how it was damaging us, we can then use these techniques to detach from that messaging subconsciously, change the how we're reacting. And that's the pulling back the power. It's all about pulling us out of that fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we do that, what happens is that stress goes down, confidence goes up, body relaxes, and then it's like all that stuff is going on, but it's like, yeah, whatever, water off a duck's back. It's not impinging on me anymore. So yeah, that's the big picture of how I started off.
And it's very big. I'll agree to the word speak.
Right.
So you talk about confidence, and that's very interesting, because people tend to think that one is born confident or not, that confidence is something that's in your personality. And would you agree to that, or can it be changed?
Right. Well, it's absolutely not. I mean, for years, I've always been quite reserved, quite quiet, very English, a bit shy. I was never the loud extrovert kind of woman, never. But I did have, I had this feeling that most people do, that it's the loud, pushy extrovert types that are out there who are confident, and indeed they are confident. And I spent years thinking there's something wrong with me, because why can't I function in that workplace? Okay, so they're men, but I'm qualified. Why can't I speak up in this meeting? Why can I not get the ball back when I've been interrupted? Why can I not feel confident doing these things? And I absolutely took it inside, and that's what women tend to do. I was saying, there is something wrong with my character. I am too quiet. I'm not assertive enough. I will never be able to be the kind of woman I need to be to succeed here. And I really thought that was the case. And
yet here you are.
Exactly. And yet, so to tell you a little bit more of the story, I started off, my work was really with changing those limiting beliefs, changing the programs that are saying, that are hidden, but are busy saying you're not allowed here. And I did years of that, and it made a lot of progress, and it helped a lot of people. But there was something that wasn't still wasn't there. There was a missing key, because when I would go to do something, I'd still get that pang of anxiety. I'd still struggle to speak up and be having to sort of push myself to do it. And then I worked out this pulling back the power, which is literally you're getting the power and you're bringing it back to yourself when the world has taken it away from you. And it just switches you out of that subconscious fight or flight. And it was an absolute revelation. The first time I really used it for myself, I was in a workshop, an entrepreneur's workshop, and it was way out of my comfort zone. There were loads of people from very mainstream industries, loads of men, and normally I would have been the woman in the corner playing with my coffee spoon, trying to be invisible. But I pulled my power in, and it was astonishing because I suddenly felt completely different. It was the first time in my life, but at this point I was about 50, right? The first time in my life ever that I'd felt relaxed and confident just being myself and being able to just engage and speak up and in front of everybody at this workshop, and then chatting at coffee time. And people were even commenting on how confident I looked compared to how they felt. And I thought, my goodness, so this is what it's like to feel confident. I've never felt like that ever before. And that was the missing piece. So the thing that was missing, it wasn't anything to do with my character. It was because I'd been stuck in this fight or flight for like my whole life. And a lot of women are. We don't realise it. It's just normal. But when we come out of that, it doesn't matter if you are naturally reserved or shy or introvert, because you're relaxed and your mind and body feel safe. That's the key. It's the safety that is the difference. When you have that safety, then suddenly, why shouldn't you speak up? And it just becomes easy to do it. And that was the thing. In fact, that was the day that I said to myself, I've got to write this book because women need to know this. I have to get this knowledge out, because all of those women who think there's something wrong with them, it's not them at all. They're having their power drained. They're going into this fight or flight. It's going straight into their confidence. They're feeling that they're not good enough, but it's not true at all. And we can actually change this.
Exactly. So what you are saying is that you don't have to be born confident. You can just change your limiting beliefs to become more confident without having to fake it.
More than that, changing the limiting beliefs is just the first step.
Okay.
It's the bringing the power back underneath that, because when we go into these situations, literally our energy is drained away, because women, we've been conditioned to give our power away. It's automatic. We can be really, believe we are really empowered on the surface, but underneath the world is draining our power. That makes us feel not safe. That makes us go into the fight or flight. So it's learning to bring the power back. So now I don't spend the time on changing the beliefs, because when you go beneath it and you bring the power back, you find the beliefs are gone because you feel safe, and then it becomes safe to ignore all of that messaging that you're getting.
Excellent. So Anne, since 𝗺𝗺𝘁𝘁 it's a platform for empowering women at a certain age, from 40, 45 plus. So would you think, or do you believe, have you just given some thought to the fact of the lack of confidence could be something that happens to women in their midlife?
Absolutely, totally. I mean, women have challenges at every stage in their life, every stage in their careers. We know that. But when we get to mid-40s and onwards, there are extra things that come in. So on the one side, at that age, we are likely to be getting higher up in our careers. And the more you go up, the more you are likely to be a minority. And the more you go up, the more you are going to be breaking those hidden rules, because the more authority you get, the more the messaging comes back, you shouldn't be here. And the more that, in the UK, we would call it the double standard, where the woman is criticised far more than the man. Or the man he's a natural leader, but the woman says the same thing in the same way, and she's an arrogant, pushy,
Because I think that's the worldwide concept.
I suspect it is. So,
Yeah.
that's a double standard. The higher we go up, the more this thing really undermines us. Then you have all of the world still has part of this operating system is that women our only value is our bodies. How fertile are we? How sexually attractive are we? What is our value to men? That's what's there, and that's in the operating system. It's there, absolutely, and you can still see that where women are judged by their appearance, judged by how they're looking, their weight, all of this stuff. Men aren't. They just are more distinguished as they get older, whereas we just on the scrap heap. Those programs are again worldwide, and it's all out there. So we get to this point, and subconsciously we start to get a new set of messages that say, you've lost your value, because maybe your skin isn't as good as it was. Maybe you aren't as slim as you were, and even if we don't believe it consciously, it's under the surface. So,
and it's everywhere in the all the
it's
brand
really blatant.
publicity.
It's really blatant.
Yeah.
So we've got it on all levels. We've got it hidden, and it's within ourselves, and then we've got all this messaging coming to us as well. So we've got these two, like I call like a double whammy, that are giving an extra load of messaging, both blatant in your face and subtly from the subconscious, saying you are worth less than you were before, and you are in more danger than you were before. So you put those two things together, and the challenge of that is absolutely enormous. So at this point, that is, if you've been doing okay, and all women deal with this, it's in the world, we deal with it all the time. But when we hit this kind of midlife stage, it's going to just magnify and magnify, and it can totally hit people. People can go into a massive burnout, or it can go into relationship problems, or real self-esteem problems, how that might go into issues with stress, or eating issues, or alcohol, or it can go all kinds of places. And it's all about understanding, oh, this has taken my power away, and that has taken my power away, and that has taken my power away. So underneath you feel less and less and less safe, and we interpret that as not good enough, and that our bodies of course then produce more and more stress signals, because it's trying to say you're not safe, you're not safe. So understanding that and being able to undo that energetic mechanism to bring the power back, and show your body actually you are safe. There's this stupid obsolete patriarchal programming that you're getting bombarded with, but it's worthless. You don't need to react to that anymore. And if you're the one woman on the board, and you're getting all of this browbeating from these other more aggressive people, and often you get women who are very unpleasant and domineering to quieter women. That's another phenomenon. The further you get up the ladder, the worse these things get. Because I've worked with a number of very high-powered women, and who are, on the surface, very confident, very, very assertive. But they said, well, Anne, actually, I have all these problems with the other board members. I got these problems with my shareholders. They're treating me like this. I can't they're interrupting me, or they're taking my ideas, or they're still. It just goes on and on and on. And understanding that process and knowing how to counteract it, so we can have obviously the success we want without the personal cost, is absolutely key.
Excellent. So that brings me to my next question that I'm getting from what you are telling us. And so Okay, so what we have to do is to bring back that power to us.
Mhm.
And that sounds very nice, but how are we going to do that? I understand that you do these radically different
Yeah.
programs that work with confidence for women. Tell us, how are they different? I know you work with like energy, with colors. So let us know a bit more about it, because yes, it sounds like really powerful, like I'm gonna bring back my power. But how am I gonna do that? Because
Right.
most women would be at loss, like what Anne is saying is fantastic, but hello,
How can
help
that be
me.
true? How can that exist? Okay, let me explain it this way. So we actually have a great deal of power with our minds, and yeah, I mean we're totally aware that women have, you know, intuitive abilities, that we often have psychic abilities, and all of these kind of things. But the conventional world has spent millennia saying, no, that's forbidden. You can't do that. The only way to be is left-brained and analytical, and everything else we're just going to give that, we're going to call that, you know, woo, or be, you know, denigrate it, or say we're going to put you to death as a witch if you're going, if you do that stuff. All of this stuff, history has taught women to suppress all of our other powers, our other mental powers. But the truth is, they have a lot of abilities with our mind that haven't even, you know, we haven't opened the box properly on it. But the thing is that if you understand that everything is connected and everything is energy, and we can use the power of our conscious focus to make changes. Now, I expect that most people have heard of sort of law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put focus onto something, you're going to be magnifying that energy. And when you are taking attention off something, you are decreasing its energy. That's the kind of concept people understand. But you can take that one step further. And what I teach is to actually use your mental focus to put power into a particular place, like within your body or within a situation, and focus it there and literally magnify it. So the things that you, where you're losing power, you want to, I teach you to magnify the power there, to stop the drain of the power, and also to get your attention off the danger. And that's the key thing. If you think about an antelope on the African plains, and the lion could come from any direction. So the antelope's got to be super alert all the time, and all the focus is out there, because, you know, I could be attacked at any time. So by putting all the focus out, that means that's giving a signal. I'm the prey, I'm vulnerable, I've got to give all my power away. So I've put all my power out there onto the lion by putting my focus out there. And so it isn't just where I'm looking. By looking out there, I'm literally magnifying the power of that thing. So we are doing that subconsciously. So if we are in a situation, for example, we've got an important interview coming up, and we are focusing and focusing and focusing on it, and it feels absolutely terrible because we're getting all this messaging: you're not allowed to do this, you're going to be punished, you're etc, etc. We are actually inadvertently magnifying that negative energy.
Mm-hmm.
And as we do that, I've realized is that there's actually an energy drain that drains from our bodies. So we get less and less and less power, and we're giving all the power to the thing which we have labeled as danger.
I think we even smell different, right? It's like the fear hormones or
Yeah, more than
something
that.
like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. But
And
more than
people
that.
can
More
people
than that.
can notice that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you know when you meet somebody and you instantly like someone, you instantly feel relaxed with them. But some another time you'll meet somebody and you won't feel safe with them, or you just don't like them, don't know what it is, but they make you feel uncomfortable. We are
Mm-hmm.
picking up a load of energetic subconscious signals. So when we are energetically being the prey, putting all our attention outside of ourselves, then people around us will pick that up, like you say, they'll pick it up totally, and they will happily take our power away, and they will treat us as inferior. All automatically, they'll just be reading all these energetic signals. So if we then learn to get the focus off that danger, and that is that's the challenging bit, because we're kind of locked out there, we're fixated on it, and that's where my mechanism comes in. You know, it's a series of visualizations and that can unlock that and bring it back to us. What we are doing immediately is saying subconsciously, that isn't a danger. My attention is on myself. I'm immediately, we do that, our system says, oh, there's no danger, I am safe. It will begin to relax, will begin to give out a different message. So everything changes. People start to treat you differently. That's the amazing thing. People treat you differently. You feel different, and it's a spiral that you've been going down, and you can turn it around and come back up, and literally magnifying your own power. And when when you feel anxiety, people often have it in the throat, or maybe in the stomach, or in the abdomen. I mean, you can actually at the more advanced levels, we analyze where you are actually draining the power away and who it's going to, and we are changing teaching our bodies to hold our power. Because when I first did it, when I first pulled my power in, I couldn't hold it. It was like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in it, right? Because I'd realized I'd never held that energy my whole life. I'd just been drained by the world the whole time. So I was pulling it in and losing it, and pulling it in and losing it. So I did that for a few days. And then after, maybe 4 or 5 days, I began to hold it a bit longer and a bit longer. And I was literally training my body to hold my power instead of letting it go. And after sort of 3 or 4 weeks, I was holding it most of the time. And if I lost it, I immediately felt it go, and I could pull it back. So what I teach is how to create what I call a power foundation within our physical body and our energy field, so that we aren't losing our power to all of those perceived dangers out in the world. And then it's not consciously, we don't think it's going to be a danger. We just think it's a stressful thing, or I've got to perform well at this meeting or whatever. But underneath, there's this I'm in danger thing going on. So it's all about training that.
More primal thing, right? It's more like
exactly.
reaction.
Exactly. It's the survival response that's going on underneath. So we are freeing ourselves from that. And when you do that, you're not draining your power away. It becomes safe to speak up as you, and you get a different response from the world.
So we'll have to try to choose. I think you have a program going at the moment, isn't that right?
Well, I've just launched it. It's
okay.
It's 40 days to double your confidence.
There you go, ladies.
Yes. And so I was only teaching these techniques to my one-to-one clients and in my mastermind groups. But what I've done now is this is a really accessible program. It's all online, and it makes it so a lot more women are going to be able to do this. And my vision for this was always, I want these techniques to get out there. So obviously, we women of our age, we totally need these things. But also, the young woman at university needs it, and the woman starting off in her career needs it. So this 40 days to double your confidence, I'm teaching you the really foundational things to get you holding your power. So you're going to start reacting differently to what is going on in your life. And by the time you've done it for the 40 days, I say it's not like a huge amount of time. It's little and often. It's incorporating the energy exercises. Like when you have your shower, or you're cleaning your teeth or something, you're just adding these things in. And by the end of 40 days, you're going to be in a different energy state, and you see how you start to react differently to the world.
I'll definitely have a look. So Anne, how did you land at 𝗺esse of no age? tell us, why did you decide to join?
Why did I decide?
And how does that connect with your work? How do you think the two things can flow together nicely?
Oh, there's a lot of questions in one there. So, as I think that the universe must have brought us together, because I just received a phone call from your good self.
From me.
And I really don't know how you found me, but somehow the universe gave you my phone number, let's put it that way.
Exactly.
And the interesting thing is, I have so much to do. I have so many things. I don't answer the phone. I don't. I don't. But for some reason, I answered your call. Very unusual for me to do that.
I like it before,
have I? And so, I heard about the mission, and it totally aligns. It totally aligns, because one of the things with female power is that we work best together. The male way is competition, and I'm going to climb over you to get above you, and all of that stuff, the competition and the goals and all of that stuff. Yeah. We do not thrive that way. Women are so much better when we are cooperating and helping each other and pooling our resources, and everybody is helping everybody. And I was already totally aware of the challenges of that women face at this kind of age. So as I say, it made perfect sense for me to be part of the project.
That was very nice. I didn't know that usually you don't pick up the phone, because really I got you on the phone pretty quickly. So I don't know if it was my confidence.
I guess a lot of people want things from me. Yes. But I say I'm so booked up that I can't possibly. But somehow as I say, I believe in that things are meant to be. I believe that there's a higher purpose, and that you are drawn to the people that you need, and the opportunities that you need, and the things that you need for that higher purpose. So I was clearly meant to answer the phone call.
Well, suffice to say that we're honored to have you. And Anne, just to wrap up this super interesting interview, what could you tell to our audience, women out there from their 40, 45 plus, that they are struggling with the fact of just growing older and facing the challenges that the outside world and our own inside world and body throws at us? What would you tell them?
What would I tell them? Right. So obviously there are genuine physical challenges. That goes without saying. But there's a lot of other stuff which we don't have to suffer. We don't have to put up with. And a lot of it is going into the emotional side and blaming ourselves and feeling not good enough and feeling that we're worth less. And then blaming ourselves because we shouldn't be feeling like that. I should be an empowered woman, and I shouldn't feel that I'm not good enough, so I get cross with myself because it's a downward spiral of self-criticism and self-judgment, and that can be absolutely debilitating and can make everything worse. So this is what I would like to leave here, and that is that nearly all of that stuff is because your subconscious mind is giving you a mixed message, or it's giving you the wrong message. So it's looking at this old benchmark. It's got a program, and it's reading it, and it says, oh, a woman is only valuable as long as she is this size and this weight and can have that many babies and is in the kitchen and is obeying the men and keeping her head down. And oh, goodness me, you're a top lawyer who is single, right?
Yeah.
You've failed, right? It doesn't know what our standards are. It doesn't know what life we are living here in the 21st century. It's giving you a message saying you're not good enough based on the facts that are wrong. So when you have that feeling of I'm not good enough, or there's something wrong with me, or I can't hack it, or anything, So don't believe it. You say, what did Dr. Anne say in that interview with Grace of No Age? Oh yes, she said, my subconscious is looking at those old programs and it's making me feel bad because of that. I can ignore that because those things are obsolete. They don't matter, irrelevant. And as soon as you have that awareness, that in itself takes the heat out of it. And there's a part two, and that is the more you are succeeding, the more you have pushed through those old boundaries, the bigger that mismatch, the worse you feel.
Yes.
Because you've gone too high, you've gone way too high. So, you know, if you feel not good enough, it's actually because you are amazing, because you have broken those subconscious.
I love that. So that's what we can say. If you've gone too far, I got lost here now.
I'll say it again.
Okay.
If you are feeling not good enough,
you've gone too far.
You have broken all the subconscious rules.
Okay.
Because you have gone too high in your career. You've
okay.
been too free. You've been too assertive. You've earned too much money.
That's a funny thing, and because I have a few friends, actually they are engineers and they are roughly in their 50s, amazing women, and with very high flying careers, making a lot of money, and just kind of looks like men are afraid of them and they stay away from them, they stay clear from them. And you go like, how is that possible? It's because they feel threatened.
The men?
Yes, the men.
Okay, well this is another big subject. I will try to explain it briefly.
Yes, because I said let's wrap up, but then I've got curious.
Okay, so I'm actually now writing another book for men, because we can't have empowerment without two sides of the coin.
That's what's happening in Grace as well. We're just talking about men. You know that.
Yes. So to answer your question, women who are out there in the world achieving, we're getting all of this messaging that says the female way is not allowed here. Yeah, that's history. But that's still there, and all of that subtle stuff, right? So a woman will subconsciously, she's going to react in one of two ways. Either her subconscious is going to go into freeze or flight, which is what happened to me. So you shut down inside, you keep pushing to succeed, you get completely drained and you go into a burnout. Or you just shut down and you become invisible. Obviously, these are the extreme versions. Or another kind of woman will, instead of going into like a flight, she goes into fight. So her subconscious will say, I'm not allowed to succeed here being feminine, having my female power. If I want to succeed, I have to emulate male power. So I'm going to take on aggression and confrontation, and I'm going to attack before they attack me. So you see these women all the time. And when I was in engineering, absolutely. There were women like me who were just quiet and we couldn't open our mouths. And then there were the women who'd literally taken on an aggressive male energy to succeed. And absolutely, men were often intimidated by them. And although they do get higher up and they have successful careers, there's still a personal cost because they're not aligned with who they truly are inside. And that can affect relationships and they get, and even those women can push it too far and end up in a burnout. The women who get to the top are usually that archetype to have survived that far, but there's still a personal cost for them too.
Very well explained, thank you. So anything else you'd like to add? Well, I think we've talked a lot, and
I think we have. I mean, if anybody wanted to ask any particular questions about what we've said, by all means, do absolutely contact me. I'm at feminineconfidence.com if you wanted to do that. You know, I love to hear from women about their experiences because it's all adding to my research. So, you know, I'd
Or they
absolutely
can
love
find
to.
you. They can find, you can, ladies, you can find Anne at our 𝗕ecie𝗺𝘁𝘁 site. When you go through the ambassadors, you'll find her there. And you will also be able to just read her articles and learn more about what she's doing, leave your comments, contact her. You'll find her details in the
Absolutely.
page as well.
So
And
yeah,
I'm sure she'll be answering to that.
yeah. So
And
I'd say some people they often think, oh, you know, maybe she doesn't want to hear from me. I don't want to share my story. I would love to hear if you've experienced something like me in your career, or if you've felt as you've going up the ladder in your career that you have this backlash from your colleagues. I would love to hear about that, because you know, the more data I can get in, the more we can really nail this, right? So do please, if you have something to share, do please get in touch. That's what I'd like to say.
make sure you just don't call her on the phone, because usually she doesn't pick up.
No.
Email her.
Email me. That's the way.
Thank you, Anne.
It's my
Pleasure talking to you. And we'll be hearing more from your new book, your courses. You'll find all that information also at our site. Thank you very much. And we'll see you soon at another talk. Bye.